Hey everyone, I'm Justin Keller. I'm head of marketing here at Drift, which is an AI-powered conversational marketing solution. I've been marketing for about 20 years now, and that whole time I've been hearing about how AI was going to become a thing for us marketers. And guess what? It finally has. So I'm going to spend the next 20-ish minutes telling you as much as I can about how to integrate this into your marketing program and how you, my friends, can deal with the upcoming quasi marketing singularity. And I'm going to tell you right now, you must do this all right now or you will be left behind. So let's get going. Before we go too far, I want to give you a brief history of how we got where we are right now. So this is just my hot take, but I think AI is a thing simply because of two human drives. One, the desire to work less because it sucks. And two, the desire to want to do more work because we love it and we just can't possibly do more on our own. So our very smart antecedents got to work figuring out how to use things like machine learning, like natural language processing, like neural networks to have computers do all of this work for us. And one thing that is really cool to me, but is also potentially apocalyptic, is that the smarter these models get, the smarter these models get. Like it's recursive. They are going to learn from themselves. And real quick, if you're attending Demand 2023, please find me on LinkedIn and tell me if I'm the only person here that's talking about the apocalypse. So maybe not apocalyptic, but we are hurtling rapidly towards an interesting moment called the singularity. And the singularity is this little point on the graph right here where human intelligence and AI intelligence start to intersect. As AI gets smarter, it becomes self-learning. The intelligence and capabilities will at some point overtake our human brains. That's potentially scary. It may also be potentially utopian. We don't know. The good news is that we're still pretty early on that curve, right? So we're not at that inflection point yet, but that curve, you will see, wraps up pretty darn quickly. And so while it was coming for a while, it's here now, and pretty soon it's going to advance so quickly that your head's going to be spinning. So let's talk about the law of uneven AI distribution. And this is basically, I'm not going to read the slide. Basically, the more you understand and accept that AI is a thing, the more you will reap the unfair benefits of it. And I'm glad to see that so many of you are already doing this. 64% of marketers say that AI is either very important or critically important to their success over the next 12 months. If you add in the people that just think it's important, just regular level important, that turns into more like 85%. So there is something like 15% of marketers who have not gotten tired of hearing from their CEO, do more with less, right? That's something that we're all focused on right now. AI, one of the promises is it's going to be able to allow us to do that. Now, who is driving this transformation within your company? 35% say it's the CEO. 33% say it's the CMO. And if you have worked closely with a CEO, you know that CEO is going to delegate it to the CMO, probably. So it's more like 68%. Is that math right? Yes. 68% of people think that the marketing organization is going to be responsible for driving the AI transformation within your company. So welcome to the right place. A little more context, and then we're going to get into some good stuff. This is Greg Brockman. He is the president of OpenAI. Basically, and this goes with that curve. AI, ChatGPT, the things we're using for today seem mind blowing. It went from nothing to a billion users in record time because it is so useful and interesting. And his take is that this time next year, we're going to look back and think that, wow, that was kind of quaint. That was a little bit dumb. Like, look where we are now. So hopefully this is putting a little, spur in your side to get you moving on the AI train. And I will say one more thing that ChatGPT and the ways we're interacting with generative AI right now, the reason they're taking off so dramatically is because they're conversational, because we can talk to it like we're just talking to another person. Remember this, I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. So, is AI going to take my job? I hear this a lot. I think it's a fair concern. And I think the answer is no, but it is going to change what your job looks like. So on the left, this lady is what we refer to as a spinster. This is a person that took, fibers from a plant, wrapped it around a wheel, and that wheel turned it into thread. This is a technology that existed from the year 500 to about the mid 1700s. This picture is obviously not from the year 500. So it had a 1,200 year run. Pretty good for the spinster. But then this is called a spinning jenny. This is a thing that all of a sudden could do with one person what 10 of the lady on the left was able to do on her own. And then it was only 20 years before we had a full-on industrial loom that was able to take all that thread, make the thread, and not only make that thread, but loom it into, I think that's the right verb, loom it into fabric. Um, and so this is kind of the same trajectory we're on as marketers. It's not necessarily going to take jobs, but if you go back to that law of AI, the more you're able to lean into it and become the person that goes from a single wheel spinster into a person that's running this 10 bobbin spinning jenny, look at all my fabric terms, into a loom, you are going to be in a much better position. Oh, all right. So where are we now with generative AI? Here's kind of a quick primer on these. You guys have all probably used ChatGPT or Claude or one of these things. Those are all large language models, LLMs. And so if you think of language as a word, so we'll use in this case one of my favorite words, taco. Taco is the language. When it's in a large language model, it's a statistical distribution of every taco ever, right? So if I ask it to describe a taco to me, it'll probably get it pretty quickly because it contextually knows that the word taco surrounds meat, cheese, taco shells, what have you. That also means that some weird stuff can happen because it's including every taco ever. Now, you interact with these large language models through an interface like ChatGPT, like Bard, like Claude. Drift itself is its own large language model. And you can ask it, this is very small text. What did I say here? Can you show me what the average taco looks like? Pretty close. Like that is recognizable as a taco, but if you look in really close, it looks like there's cucumbers in there and it seems to be bereft of cheese, which both of these things are upsetting to me. So what are you going to do, right? Maybe ask it for one without cucumbers and with cheese. But it just goes to show you it's not nailing it yet, but it's pretty damn close. Where it's going is in the next 15 to 25 years. I'm sorry, in the next year, 2 years, sorry. Uh, there's going to be 15 to 25 major new text, video, image, kind of media innovations in GPT, or in Gen AI. So if you think of GPT as one of these, within 2 years, there's going to be 15 to 25 things that are just as big and important. And they're quickly going multimodal. So what does that mean? It's not just doing text. It's not generating content. It's not just generating audio or video or pictures. It's doing all of those things at once. There's a thing called Showrunner AI that is currently in. You can't, you and I can't access it, but I really want to because what you can do is basically say, hey, make an episode of South Park that features me and my two friends where we get in trouble. We're getting chased by the cops for stealing donuts, something like that. And it will spit out a full-blown South Park episode with audio and text and everything. That's the future we're going into, which is very exciting. And I cannot wait to star in my own episode of South Park. Now, that's all cool, but like we're all marketers. How's this going to help me in my job? Maybe take a screenshot of this because I'm not going to be able to talk through all of this on limited time. But this is kind of the current landscape of generative AI tools for marketers. Drift is there. Some of our competitors are there. There's also great tools like Jasper in there that are going to help you with your content. Take a look at this and research these on your own. Now, what are some other AI concerns other than like, what's this going to do to the job market? One, copyright infringement. If generative AI generates something for you, that's not yours. That's the AI models. This is a monkey that actually won a lawsuit. And it won this lawsuit because it took like an iPhone from a photographer, took a selfie of itself. And when this photographer tried to copyright it, the judge was like, no, you didn't take that. The monkey took it. Same thing is true with robots generating your content. So don't act like you're going to own everything that generative makes for you. Spam is going to be an issue. Like all of a sudden we were able to generate 1,000 blog posts and they're all going to be maybe good, maybe bad, but probably bad. SEO is going to be part of that same thing. We're going to, Google's going to have a tough time organizing all these things. Compliance, legislation. AI is moving so fast that our government will never in a million years be able to keep up with it. I don't even think that, us as thought leaders will be able to keep up with it. There's not going to be a book on how to use generative AI in marketing because it's advancing that quickly. And then my last thing is, it's super trendy. It's highly extensible, which means there's going to be a lot of products coming out that are just bolting on marketing technology to ChatGPT. Be careful because it's people are going to be trying to take your money, and you should be very concerned for the aforementioned reasons. So I talked about the reason ChatGPT and generative AI has become so popular is because it's conversational, and that's true, and that's embedded in human DNA. Forever, we have always wanted to just ask a question and get an answer. Star Trek talked about this in the 60s. In their picture of the future, all you had to do is say, hey, computer, like open shuttle bay doors or something Star Trekky. And computer would say, you got it. Skip to the early 2000s. This is a picture of me. And yes, that's Paul Rudd. I worked for a company that was trying to solve exactly this called Cha-Cha. This is before smartphones. So you had to text on like the little 9-digit thing that was very cumbersome. And you'd ask a question, you'd get an answer. It was such a big deal. Maybe you remember this if you're old like me, that we went from being a startup where I worked on a card table in a house to the 45th biggest website on the internet within about 2 years. Because why? People just want answers. That company, for a few reasons, but mostly because the iPhone came out, went under, right? And now we have Siri, and I'm going to not say her name too loud because my phone's going to hear me say that and ask what it needs me to do for it. That's where we are. We want the ability to just ask a question and get an answer. And that is so important for you, people that own a website. If you have an e-commerce website, you probably want people to click around and browse aimlessly, right? That's good for you. Most of us don't work for an e-commerce site. Most of us work for B2B websites or companies that have websites where we don't want them to get lost. We kind of want them to convert. We want to get them where we need them to go or where they want to go. And hopefully those are the same thing, as few clicks as possible. 90% of the people that are coming to your website never get deeper than 2 clicks on your website. So think about that. Like how many links you have on your website and how few of them will ever be used because they're like the third click. Fewer than 1% of people that are searching on Google click a link on the second page, right? This, and I'm sorry for the product pitch, but this is exactly why Drift was invented, because we wanted to be able to present a solution where people come to your website, they ask what they want, and they're able to get that immediately, right? It's a simple promise, but it's something that I think we should all consider as we're designing websites and as we're figuring out how to best engage with our customers, especially considering that half of all of the chat that happens on your website happens after hours. And when you have an AI-powered chat, like AI chat that's able to answer questions like a human would, you're getting 40% more engagement than if it's just a chat bot. One of our customers, Okta, has increased their pipeline 30% by using AI chat. And not only that, this is their fastest converting website. Because why? I mean, we're talking a lot about speed here. We want a question, we want an answer. We have a question, we want an answer. Let's get that immediately. And when you're able to deliver that, good things happen for your pipeline. So let's talk about the fusion of robots and humans. As you, a marketer, think about how to embrace AI in your marketing, I want you to consider 3 things. One, you're an engineer now, and I will show you, and you will screenshot these things, a few things on how to hack your favorite LLM to do a better job of giving you the content, the answers, the solutions you need. As we go forward, like I talked about, the innovations in the Loom. Same thing as with marketing. It's not going to be who's best at spreadsheets, who's the smartest at math, who can build the best segments. It's going to be about who's the most creative, right? AI is going to be able to do a lot of the tedious manual work for you. And so your ability to be creative is the one thing that an AI is not going to be able to match. So you being creative is important. I like to say the MFA is the new MBA. I say as an MBA who decided not to get an MFA at one point. So whoops. And the last thing is you need to start embracing it. So what we do is we challenge our team to do it. We have little hackathons where we will take desperate parts of our marketing team, put them in little clumps, give them real tangible business problems that we've got, explain why it matters, and then say, hey, go out and hack it. Use AI in as many creative ways as possible to figure out how you can solve this. Half the time, we get nothing. Half the time, it's a pretty good idea. And then, 10 or 15% of the time, it's a really damn good idea. And we figure out, okay, like, how do we actually implement this into our workflows? How do we make this a part of what we're doing? Screenshot this. This is a way of working with your favorite Gen AI tool and get it to give you better responses. The RACE framework, role, action, context, and execution. When you get really good at this, cool stuff happens. I went to visit a couple of friends in Arizona, and in the car on the way to our Airbnb, I used the RACE framework to say, hey, build me an adventure where, me and my 2 buddies are in Sedona, Arizona. We're going on an adventure. We want bad guys. We want, spooky stuff to happen. And it generated an adventure that took the 3 of us through an adventure. It was kind of like the South Park example. Like we started in the show and they took us through an adventure and it lasted like an hour long. It was this really fun text-based adventure that we were able to do with just a really good prompt. So let's talk about some things you can do with GPT right now. Also some things you should probably screenshot right here. I will touch on one of these. I will say that ChatGPT, Claude, these things, we're using them to generate content primarily, right? And that's ironic because it's actually one of the worst things it is, or one of its worst capabilities. It sucks at it currently. It'll get better. But if you want to rewrite something, it's super good at it. So large language models operate on things called parameters and weights. I don't really know what those mean, but I know a lot about tacos. So I asked Claude, can you explain LLMs to me, the weights and parameters in terms of tacos? And it said, sure. Let's take something you know very well, tacos, and turn it into something you're not so sure of. So you get that context and you can understand complicated topics a lot easier. Classification, super helpful for your sales and your SDR team. I asked it to describe me, and it did a pretty good job, enough to get the ball rolling on getting an outreach to me. Outlining is, oh my God, this blew me in mind. This actually gave me a little bit of concern. So we were coming up on our annual QBR, and just as a goof, ask ChatGPT, hey, can you give me a template for a QBR for these 8 different marketing functions? Can you give me the quantitative metrics that they need to be presenting on? Can you give me examples of the qualitative context that backs up those metrics? And it freaking nailed it. It spat out 7 or 8 different marketing roles, their metrics, the things that they should be looking for. And I was like, okay, this is actually really good. I didn't really use it, but I was like, it's actually pretty close to what I've already got. All right, we are coming up on the end here. I've got a couple of calls to action for you all, dear friends. One is that your buyers are more impatient than ever. My friend Jay Baer just came out with a book called The Time to Win. You should check it out, thetimetoWin.com. And this is the largest study of speed in consumer expectations. And they all say that we are more impatient than ever. And that, just like I was saying with questions and answers, we want things right now. And we as marketers need to be able to deliver on that speed expectation in order to maintain a good customer experience. Second thing, I was talking about these hackathons. Please, please, please experiment, get weird with it, have fun on the weekends with it. But one thing that I think you should also do is record the experiments you're doing, and eventually, hopefully, you've got a prompt library that is in a Google Doc or, I don't know, a PDF somewhere that lives within your organization, so that your friends and coworkers can say, oh, I'm trying to do this. This was a great prompt that generated a good result. Let me just plug that into my favorite platform. And then last, you need to behave. Like I was saying, legislation will never catch up with AI. We are getting into the Wild West, and it seems like there's not a clear way back to it. So the responsibility is going to be us as business leaders. If you have not already, you need to implement a code of conduct for AI in your company to make sure that everyone's compliant. You're not creating any legal risks for yourselves, copyright or otherwise. There are good examples of it online that you can look for. I'm pretty sure Jasper just released one that you can modify for yourselves. So I recommend you do that. Talk to your CEO, your head of legal. I don't know who is responsible for that, but get that done. All right. I quoted some stats at the beginning of this presentation. These all came from the 2023 State of Marketing AI report that Drift built in collaboration with our friends at the Marketing AI Institute, whom I cannot recommend highly enough as an authoritative body around AI and marketing. So be familiar with them, but go ahead and download this report because this was a banner year for AI. This is the 3rd time we've done it, but this is the 1st year we've done it since generative AI has exploded onto the scene. So there's some really interesting and hot takes in there. There's a URL right there, but that's a lot of letters to type. Just go to drift.com, go to our resources section in the top nav, and it should be the first thing up there. All right. This has been an absolute hoot. I am so grateful to have been here. That was a template, the sample slide from this deck template. So thank you again, Demand 2023 Metadata. Friends, thank you so much for joining me today. See ya.